the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
She's not going to be safe with the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love.
Oh my God. Her heroine cannot be in love or be saved by a man, the prince, that she's more focused on becoming the leader she was meant to be, as if women in modern day America must make that choice.
And if she hadn't have opened her mouth, I think that this movie might have done well. They might have just been able to ride on the hopium of the movie and some well-cut trailers, and people would have paid to go see it. And then it would have fallen off when people knew it was garbage. But Rachel Zegler made it so hateable that you really sabotaged and took hundreds of millions of dollars from the studio. I don't know how anyone would ever want to go into business with it. That the producers, far left-wing activists in Hollywood, are turning on her, and Disney has canceled all of Rachel Zegler's appearances on their media platforms. Kind of tough.
And there is no resolution in sight for the Walt Disney Company when it comes to Snow White 2025 at the box office. This is exactly why Bob Iger, the Disney CEO, is in pure panic mode over not just the Rachel Zegler backlash, but the entire backlash surrounding this movie in general, and just how once trusted critics that shilled for the Disney Company all the time, even they are beginning to turn their back against them. That's how bad this movie truly is. Even if you look at the IMDb rating score, that's when you really know how terrible this movie is and how it really hit rock bottom.
There are empty theaters all around the country. We are now at a 1 out of 10 on IMDb for the new Snow White.
Yeah, we had more dwarfs than we did viewers in most of these theaters. And as you know, there were no dwarfs other than some CGI weird generated version of them.
And you have parents looking at Disney being like, what are you doing, guys? Like, this is supposed to be a place where magic happens, and all you're doing is indoctrinating kids, and you're having this person be the poster child of the Democratic Party. Look no further than what Disney is doing with their woke, DEI, feminist agenda.
After one hell of a PR tour, Disney's live-action Snow White is finally, I know, you were wondering.
Disney responded by scaling back the premiere. I don't know that anyone really showed up to the premiere. The Rotten Tomatoes reviews are looking pretty bad, and they did, it seems like they tried to tweak a few things, but this movie is bad. Every way that Disney changed the story, it changed it for the worse.
Disney's dream of reviving Snow White has turned into a nightmare of epic proportions, as one actress's controversial comments and political posts created the perfect storm that may have sunk a $300 million blockbuster before it even hit theaters. Welcome to Celebrity Breakdown, your ultimate destination for Hollywood's juiciest scandals. I'm diving deep into what industry insiders are calling the Snow White disaster, a perfect case study in how not to promote a major studio film. We've got explosive feuds, political controversies, family drama, and box office numbers so bad they're making Disney executives reach for the poison apple themselves. The numbers don't lie. Disney's live-action Snow White is projected to lose over $115 million, making it one of the biggest box office disasters in recent memory. With a $270 million budget and years of development, how did this fairy tale turn so dark? More importantly, did its star Rachel Zegler unwittingly sabotage her own career in the process? Love scandal lovers, we're about to unpack every shocking detail, from Zegler's controversial stalker Prince comments to her explosive political posts, the behind-the-scenes feud with co-star Gal Gadot, and the extraordinary public rebuke from producer Mark Platt's own son. This isn't just another Hollywood scandal. This is a masterclass in career implosion. Let's rewind to September 2022, when the first cracks in this fairy tale started appearing. During early promotional interviews, Rachel Zegler shocked Disney fans with her take on the beloved 1937 classic that launched Walt Disney's feature animation empire. Instead of expressing gratitude or admiration, Zegler dropped this bombshell. The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird. Yes, you heard that right. She called Prince Florian the beloved prince who awakens Snow White with true love's kiss. A stalker. Not exactly what lifelong Disney fans wanted to hear from the actress embodying their childhood icon. The internet erupted. Boycott Snow White started trending almost immediately. Disney fan forums filled with outrage. As clips of the interview went viral, former Disney Channel stars reportedly messaged each other in private groups, with one allegedly writing, "This is exactly how not to handle a legacy role. Did no one at Disney Media train her?" But instead of apologizing, Zegler doubled down. In the same interview cycle, she proudly declared, "She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be." While some praised this modern approach, traditionalists were furious. Conservative commentator Ben Shapiro went viral with a 15-minute takedown, saying, "If you hate the source material so much, why are you in the movie? Create your own feminist fairy tale instead of destroying beloved classics." Industry insiders claim Disney executives were blindsided by these comments. A former Disney PR executive told us anonymously, "There are ways to discuss modernizing classics without insulting the original. This created an immediate marketing challenge. How do you sell a film when your lead actress seems to actively dislike what made it special?" Little did they know, these controversial statements were just the appetizer. The main course of controversy was about to be served, and it would prove far more damaging. Fast forward to August 2024. After years of production delays and reshoots, Disney finally released the first trailer for Snow White, generating an impressive 120 million views in just 24 hours. The studio was breathing a sigh of relief. Maybe the early controversy had been forgotten. Maybe audiences would give the film a chance after all. Then came the social media post that would alter the trajectory of the entire project. After thanking fans for watching the trailer, Zegler added, "And always remember, free Palestine." Now, regardless of your personal politics, one fact is undeniable. Mixing a divisive geopolitical statement with the promotion of a children's fantasy film is a high-risk move, especially when your co-star, Gal Gadot, cast as the evil queen, is Israeli and has been vocal about her support for Israel. Sources with direct knowledge of the situation report that producer Mark Platt immediately flew to New York for an emergency meeting with Zegler. He reportedly urged her to delete the post, explaining the complex commercial implications of her statement and how it might affect the film's global distribution. Our sources claim Zegler refused, telling Platt, "I won't be silenced on issues that matter to me. If Disney has a problem with that, maybe they should have hired someone else." The situation escalated when Gadot began receiving death threats. Disney was forced to hire additional security for her and her family, an unexpected expense that insiders say cost the studio millions. According to one source close to Gadot, the actress was blindsided by the controversy. She signed up to play the evil queen, not to get dragged into international politics because of her co-star's tweets. Actress and commentator Gina Carano, who was famously fired from The Mandalorian over her social media posts, couldn't resist commenting, "Interesting how some actors face immediate consequences for their views, while others get a free pass. Hollywood's double standards are showing." The international fallout was swift. Several Middle Eastern countries reportedly informed Disney they would ban the film, while others demanded extensive edits. The studio was now facing a PR catastrophe that threatened to derail the film's global distribution before it even hit theaters. But if Disney executives thought they'd weathered the worst of the storm, they were sorely mistaken. The next controversy would prove even more explosive. November 2024, Donald Trump wins re-election in a hotly contested race. Emotions are running high across America, but most celebrities, especially those promoting major studio films, know to express their views with some degree of diplomatic restraint. Rachel Zegler, however, took a different approach. In a late-night Instagram post, she wrote "F Donald Trump" and "May Trump supporters never know peace." She continued, calling Trump's victory evidence of a deep sickness in this country and describing his supporters as subscribing to a false sense of patriotism and humanity. The backlash was immediate and severe. Conservative commentator Megyn Kelly called for Zegler's removal from the film, comparing her remarks to controversies that had gotten other actors fired. Right-wing groups organized formal boycotts of Snow White, creating Facebook events with hundreds of thousands of RSVPs pledging to skip the film. A conservative film critic who asked to remain anonymous told us, "She essentially told half of America not to see her movie." When you're the face of a $270 million film targeting families across the political spectrum, that's career suicide. Disney's crisis management team reportedly went into overdrive. According to our sources, Mark Platt flew cross-country once again for another emergency meeting with Zegler. This time, the studio hired a specialized social media consultant to review her posts moving forward, an unprecedented move for an actor of her status. Some industry watchers speculated this was all part of a calculated strategy. What if Disney actually wanted the film to fail, mused one popular YouTube commentator. Maybe they needed a tax write-off, or perhaps they were looking for an excuse to end their live-action remake strategy. While most experts dismissed this theory, it gained traction online as fans struggled to understand how a studio could lose control of its messaging so completely. Zegler eventually issued a statement walking back her comments, saying she let her emotions get the best of her and regretted contributing to negative discourse. But for many potential viewers, the damage was already done. And that brings us to perhaps the most extraordinary chapter in this saga, when a producer's son decided to publicly air the studio's dirty laundry. March 2025, with Snow White's release just months away, the controversy had somewhat died down. Then came what many considered the final nail in the movie's coffin, an explosive social media post from Jonah Platt, son of producer Mark Platt. In a now-deleted Instagram post, Jonah defended his father while delivering a scathing critique of Zegler. My dad, the producer of an enormous piece of Disney IP with hundreds of millions of dollars on the line, had to leave his family to fly across the country to reprimand his 20-year-old employee for dragging her personal politics into the middle of promoting the movie. Jonah didn't stop there. He accused Zegler of narcissistic behavior that jeopardized not just the film, but the livelihoods of thousands who worked on it, calling it a lesson in adult responsibility that Zegler failed to learn. Industry experts were stunned. Never before had a producer's family member so publicly criticized a lead actor before a film's release. The post was deleted within hours, but screenshots spread across social media like wildfire. Some called it an unprecedented breach of Hollywood etiquette. This is the kind of thing that might be said behind closed doors, but never, ever publicly, noted a veteran publicist. It shows just how much damage control has been happening behind the scenes. Zegler reportedly demanded a meeting with Disney CEO Bob Iger, arguing that the studio wasn't protecting her from what she considered harassment. But multiple sources claim Iger declined the meeting, instead delegating it to lower-level executives who advised her to focus on the upcoming premiere. A surprising defender emerged in filmmaker Kevin Smith, who commented on his podcast, "I don't care what your politics are, but when a producer's kid goes after the star of their $300 million movie publicly, something has gone terribly wrong with the Hollywood system. There's a conversation for private rooms, not Instagram." This extraordinary public rebuke exposed the depth of behind-the-scenes tension. But it also foreshadowed another brewing drama, the increasingly apparent feud between the film's two leading ladies. While Disney tried desperately to present a unified front, insiders claimed the relationship between Zegler and Godot had completely disintegrated by early 2025. What began as a professional collaboration had reportedly evolved into one of Hollywood's most tension-filled partnerships. The pair jointly presented at the Oscars on March 2nd, with viewers immediately noticing the palpable tension. Body language experts analyzed footage of the presentation, pointing out how Godot maintained physical distance from Zegler, with their on-stage banter feeling noticeably scripted and uncomfortable. Things escalated days later when, in response to a fan's comment about their Oscar appearance, Zegler referred to Godot as a professional pageant queen in an Instagram reply. For context, Godot's Hollywood career began after her time as Miss Israel, making this remark particularly pointed and personal. Sources close to Godot claim she was deeply hurt by the comment, but chose to maintain professionalism by not responding publicly. One insider told us, "Gab believes in keeping disagreements private. She was upset but would never stoop to public mudslinging with a colleague." Did Wonder Woman actor Linda Carter secretly take sides? Some fans think so, after she posted a cryptic tweet praising actresses who lift others up instead of tearing them down, right in the middle of the Snow White promotional tour. When asked directly about the feud in an interview, Carter diplomatically replied, "Every generation has their own Wonder Woman, just as every generation has their own Snow White. I wish them all success." Disney reportedly took extraordinary measures to keep the actresses apart during promotional events. At the scaled-back Los Angeles premiere, attendees noted that Zegler was seated 2 rows ahead of Godot and her family, an unusual arrangement for the 2 stars of a major film. Celebrity seating expert James Monroe, who has arranged seating for major award shows, told us, "In my 20 years in Hollywood events, I've never seen leads deliberately seated apart unless there was serious tension. That seating arrangement was essentially Disney publicly acknowledging the feud while trying to minimize it visually for photographers." The tension between the actresses created additional headaches for Disney's marketing team, who had to carefully edit promotional interviews to maintain the illusion of cast harmony. Several planned joint appearances were reportedly canceled and replaced with solo segments, costing the studio thousands in reshuffled promotional schedules. Some conspiracy theorists even suggested Disney intentionally fostered the feud to generate publicity for an otherwise troubled production. The old all publicity is good publicity strategy, suggested one entertainment journalist. However, Disney insiders vehemently deny this, with one stating, "Nobody wants this kind of negative attention for a family film. This was damage control, not strategy." By the time Snow White hit theaters, the alleged feud had overshadowed the film itself. But would audiences still show up despite the controversy? The box office numbers would soon deliver a definitive verdict. After years of production delays, hundreds of millions spent, and controversy after controversy, Snow White finally hit theaters in May 2025. The results were catastrophic by any standard. Opening weekend brought in just $43 million domestically, against a production budget of approximately $270 million, plus an estimated $100 million in marketing. For context, 2017's Beauty and the Beast remake opened to $174 million, and even the less successful Little Mermaid remake managed $117 million in its first weekend. The second weekend was even more devastating, with a 66% drop, one of the steepest declines for any major Disney release. Industry analysts quickly projected the film would lose at least $115 million, possibly much more depending on international performance. Critics were merciless. The film currently holds a dismal 42% on Rotten Tomatoes, with reviews calling it soulless, confused, and devoid of the magic that made the original special. Even more damning, many critics specifically mention the film's identity crisis, trying to simultaneously honor and reject the original's themes. Audiences weren't any kinder. The film received a C cinema score, almost unheard of for a Disney family film. Exit polling revealed that a significant percentage of viewers were aware of the controversies surrounding Zegler, with many citing her comments as negatively impacting their enjoyment of the film. A theater chain executive in the Midwest told us, "We had families specifically asking if we had any other children's movies playing because they didn't want to support this specific Disney film. I've never seen anything like it in 15 years of theater management." Disney investors were reportedly furious. The company's stock dipped 3% the Monday after opening weekend as analysts downgraded projections based on the film's poor performance and questioned the studio's overall live-action remake strategy. Former Disney CEO Michael Eisner raised eyebrows when he commented during a CNBC interview, "Sometimes the biggest lesson a studio can learn is from its biggest failures." Disney needs to remember why families connected with these stories in the first place. Even more shocking were reports that Disney had already placed several planned live-action remakes on hold, including Bambi and Hercules, while they reassessed their approach. Industry newsletter The Ankler reported that Disney executives were conducting a full post-mortem on what went wrong with Snow White, with particular attention to casting decisions and promotional strategy. The question on everyone's mind, what does this mean for Rachel Zegler's once promising career? Rachel Zegler was once hailed as Hollywood's next big thing after her stunning debut in Spielberg's West Side Story. But after the Snow White disaster, many are questioning whether her career has suffered permanent damage. Multiple sources report that studios are suddenly hesitant to cast the young actress in major projects. A casting director for a rival studio told us, "There's concern about her becoming a liability for big budget films. Right now, fair or unfair, she's seen as someone who might alienate audiences before they even buy a ticket." Insider reports claim projects Zegler was attached to have been quietly putting out feelers for alternative casting options. Her rumored role in a potential Toy Story 5 character has allegedly been scrapped, while talks with Blumhouse Productions for a horror trilogy have gone cold. Is this Hollywood's way of subtly blacklisting a star they now view as too controversial? Not everyone believes Zegler's career is doomed. Director Ava DuVernay tweeted support. "Young artists should be allowed to have opinions and make mistakes. The pile-on happening right now is disproportionate and disturbing." Similarly, actress Lena Dunham wrote, "If male actors were penalized for every controversial statement, we'd have no male stars left. Could there be a way back?" PR experts suggest Zegler needs to lie low, focus on smaller independent projects that welcome political engagement, and gradually rebuild her reputation with studios through consistent professionalism. Some Hollywood veterans have pointed to Robert Downey Jr. and Drew Barrymore as examples of stars who overcame early career controversies to become industry powerhouses. "Hollywood loves a comeback story," noted one talent manager, "but first you have to acknowledge there's something to come back from." Others aren't so optimistic. The difference is that RDJ and Barrymore's issues were personal demons, not alienating half their potential audience, argued a studio marketing executive. You can forgive someone for hurting themselves, but it's harder to forgive someone who insults your values or beliefs. One fascinating theory emerging suggests Disney might actually help rehabilitate Zegler's image. "They've invested too much in her," suggested an industry analyst. "Look for her to appear in a low-key Disney Plus project in a year or so, something that lets her demonstrate humility and reconnect with the audience without the pressure of carrying a $300 million film." Whatever happens next, one thing is clear: The Snow White controversy will likely become a case study in film schools about the changing relationship between stars, studios, and social media. As the dust settles on one of Disney's biggest modern failures, Hollywood insiders are divided on who bears responsibility for the $300 million catastrophe. Some place the blame squarely on Zegler's shoulders. She broke the cardinal rule of blockbuster promotion, explained a veteran studio executive. Never alienate your audience before they buy tickets. Politics, religion, controversial opinions, these have no place in fairy tale promotion. Others point to Disney's casting and management decisions. They hired a politically outspoken Gen Z actress for a traditional princess role, then acted surprised when she had strong opinions about updating the material, noted a prominent casting director. The warning signs were there from the beginning. Then there's the theory that Disney's live-action remake strategy had simply run its course. After successful adaptations of their most beloved classics like Beauty and the Beast and The Lion King, perhaps audiences had grown tired of paying to see stories they already knew, especially when the remakes diverged significantly from the original. Some industry analysts go further, suggesting cultural politics has made traditional fairy tales increasingly difficult to adapt. You're caught between traditionalists who want the original story preserved and progressives who find the original problematic, explained a film professor. It's a no-win situation for studios, but perhaps most provocative is the conspiracy theory that Disney deliberately let the film fail. This fringe theory suggests the studio needed a high-profile failure to justify shifting resources away from theatrical releases towards streaming content. While most experts dismiss this notion, it continues to gain traction in some corners of the internet. The reality is likely more nuanced, a perfect storm of factors from casting choices to controversial statements to changing audience tastes, combined to sink what should have been a guaranteed hit. The question now is whether Disney will learn from these mistakes or repeat them with future projects. The Snow White saga represents more than just a movie flop. It's a cautionary tale about the collision between traditional entertainment and modern celebrity culture. In an era where stars are expected to be authentic and politically engaged on social media, but also serve as diplomatic ambassadors for billion-dollar franchises, tension is inevitable. Now faces difficult questions about its approach to live-action remakes. Can beloved fairy tales survive modern scrutiny? Should studios more carefully vet the political leanings of potential stars? And where's the line between updating classics for modern audiences and alienating fans of the original? For Zegler, the path forward is uncertain. At just 23, she has plenty of time to rebuild her career. But the Snow White controversy will likely follow her for years to come. Will she emerge stronger from this experience, or will it define her Hollywood journey? As for Godot, industry insiders suggest this debacle may have actually enhanced her reputation. She stayed above the fray and maintained professionalism despite extremely difficult circumstances, noted one publicist. Studio executives notice and reward that kind of behavior. One thing is certain, Disney will never approach another remake the same way again. Sources tell us the studio is completely revamping its casting process and implementing new social media guidelines for actors in family-oriented projects. The era of giving stars free rein to express political opinions while promoting tentpole films may be over, but this story is far from finished. We've received exclusive information about several Snow White crew members preparing to break their silence in explosive interviews that could reveal even more behind-the-scenes drama, and rumors persist about a tell-all memoir Zegler is reportedly working on that could hit shelves as early as next year. Plus, our sources have uncovered which A-list directors originally turned down the Snow White project, specifically because of concerns about the script and casting decisions. We'll be revealing all that and more in our follow-up investigation next week. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our exclusive interview with a Disney insider who claims the studio knew the film was doomed from day one, but proceeded anyway. We'll also be analyzing what this means for Disney's other planned remakes and whether any are likely to be quietly canceled in the coming months.